Welcome to Computerpedia, where we learn computer science. So today in this video, we are going to learn about programming lab 1, and which is in the sixth topic, which is struct. So struct data type. Now we will learn about the struct data type. So struct, what is a struct data type? A struct data type is the extension of array data type. So this is the extension of array data type. Maybe similar, but not that different. Yeah, but there is still some different. So a struct can be used to store different data types. It can store like integer and then string and so on. So for example, a record regarding a product maybe consists of a product code and then product name. So the code may be string, maybe integer. Product name most likely will be string, and product price most likely will be integer, and etc. So in struct data type, you can store all of this value in one variable. So that's the beauty of struct. The declaration of struct is specifying the name of the struct, then followed by a list of the fields in the struct and its data types. So for example, just like here, we have the struct is the data type, and then the struct name is the variable name. Then we input the data type and the field name. So the struct name and the field name. If we have like just before the product code, and then the field name will be product code, and then the field name 2 will be product name. The data type, for example, if the product code is string, and then string product code, string that product name, and then integer product price, or float in this example. Yeah, just like this one. After that, we need to create a variable using the struct data type according to the struct name. So I'm going to correct myself. The struct name over here are not the variable name. So we are like building a data type itself. So we are creating a new data type or a new class. You can say so. And then to use that, we need to create a variable using the struct data type according to the struct name. Here's the example. So we have the struct name over here, and then we create a variable name over here. This is the example. Like before, we produce a product rack for the struct name, and then we have this variable name. Now we are going to talk about the accessing the struct. So accessing the struct is intended to perform operation on each element of the individual record. So not in all of that, or not all of the value inside, but just in one. The operation to fill the value for each element of the record is as follows. You can see over here the general, the variable name, and then dot, and then the field name, and then equal to the value that we want to insert to that field name. For example, here we have the fruit.name is equal to orange, or we can use the input command on C++, which is the CIN, and then fruit.name to the fruit.name variable and field. The operation to display, so this is for input, and then to display the value, we can just follow right here, cout variable name dot field name. So this command is used for us to access the value itself. And then here are the example. We want to print the fruit.name and fruit.price. Because of the struct, they have the name and then they have the price and so on. Now we are going to talk about nested struct. So what is a nested struct? As the name explain, so this is nested. So there will be a struct inside of a struct, and here are the example. So we have one struct called the product brand. The product brand have its product name and then the brand name, and we have here the product record. The product record will consist of a product brand, which is the struct over here, and then the ID number and then the float price. And then this is totally fine. Now next we are going to talk about array of struct. So struct is not limited just from themselves. They can be used in a struct data structure. For example, just like here, so we have this struct just like before, a nested struct, and then we want to make 10 of them, 10 of similar struct. So we see here the product rec, and then we have the name, the product, and the array declaration, which is the length of 10. So that's how to use the struct array. Now we are going to see the sample program. Hopefully with this example you will learn better. Okay, now let's see this example. Here are the example of the declaration of struct and in the initialization of the variable. So we see here, just like as usual, we have the include IO stream and using namespace std. The declaration itself from line 5 to line 8. So we built a full name struct. So this will going to be a nested struct. So here are the first struct, which is the full name. It has the first name and last name, and then we have the struct student record on line 10 to line 14. We have the full name, the field name is name, the string ID number, and the GPA. We also make an array of that record. So the student record, we have the name of the student, and then we have 10 student. Sorry. Now for the process, we are going to input the student itself. So insert the number of student, just like as usual. We print the student's data, and then we insert of the data first. So if you want to input the first name, because of this is a nested struct, so we need to like point the field name twice. So the student, the number of the student, because of this is an array, and then we input on the name and then the first name. So because name itself is a struct, so to access the inside of the struct, we need another dot over here, and then we need to explicitly say which field that we are going to fill. So this is the first name, and then this is the last name, and then we also input the ID number, and then finally we input the GPA. So yeah, that's the end of the process. And finally, we want to output of the data that we already inputted. So we repeat for all of the data that we inputted, and then we show. And how to access is just like how we access when we input it. Once again, if it's struct inside of a struct, we need to define, we need to declare, we need to use 2 of the field name. If not, we are not going to access anything. Name first name, name last name, and then the ID number, and finally the GPA. And I think that's the code. So the program compilation execution, we see the how our examples run. Here we see the student data. We input just two students. We input just like here, and then the output was just like here. It should be like just the same between the input and the output. And we already proved that using struct is quite robust, and it's quite helpful to build a program using the struct data type. So I think that's that for today's video about the struct programming. This is quite short of struct. Hopefully this will help you to understand about how to use the struct and how good the struct is. So I think that's that for today's video. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next video. Bye.